Here. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We have an interesting and full agenda this morning, so we'll dive right into it in a moment. First of all, we'll have some citizens who've signed up for council communications. We have a practice here where we let 5 people, or today only 4, sign up for the opportunity to speak to the council on a subject of their choosing for 3 minutes, so we'll hear that first. Then we'll deal with our consent calendar and then move right into the regular agenda. If you're here to speak on one of the agenda items this morning, and if you're not someone who's already been set up for invited testimony, just let our council clerk know that you'd like to speak, and she will make sure you're on the list when we call people to testify. We exercise courtesy in this chamber, so if you are here to speak, we want to make sure that we get to hear you, and if you agree with someone testifying, feel free to give them a thumbs up or a wave of the hand, but we also ask that you not make a vocal demonstration to support them, and likewise to the negative. If you disagree with them, feel free to make a negative, polite hand gesture, but no vocal demonstrations in favor or against our fellow Portlanders' points of view, so we get to hear them all. So with that...
I just wanted to announce, if anybody's here for item 1024, the renter protection ordinance, that has been moved till 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Thank you. Thanks for that announcement. And in another announcement, before we proceed, I want to welcome a delegation here from Kuriyama City in Hokkaido, Japan. They're here with us in the chambers. They're being led by Kuriyama Mayor Noriaki Subikahara. And Kuriyama City is about 25 miles north of Sapporo, which is our sister city. So I want to welcome you, Mayor, and delegation here. Welcome you to the chambers. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Council will enjoy that after the meeting. We will.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome to Portland. Welcome to Portland. It's nice to have you here. We have an amazing relationship with Japan because, in part, we have this now 56-year-old relationship with the city of Sapporo, one of the first sister city relationships in the world, program that was begun, among others, by President Eisenhower, who believed that friendship among cities is a good thing to foster and that cities ought to do that deliberately. And we have had such a great partnership with Japan and with Hokkaido and Sapporo in particular. But welcome. Wonderful to have you here with us. Okay, let us move on to communications items number 1009, please.
Request of Jose Sirica to address council regarding housing injustice.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good.
Thank you for hearing me. Welcome, Mayor from Korea. And it's going to be a good day for the Indigenous people as well, from what I hear. I've been a housing advocate for the last 3 years. My name is Jose Sirica. I'm a pastor. I gave away all my possessions 3 years ago, and I decided to go out into the streets and live with the homeless community to see what's really going on and to actually experience sleep deprivation, malnutrition, and non-regenerative sleep, and how it affects the person and how a person's higher intellect is affected, and they're only thinking basically with their base survival thought process out there, which explains a lot of irrational behavior with homeless people on the street. 2 years ago, I spoke here and I quoted the Pope by saying that the poor have become the collateral damage of the wealthy, and that has never been more prevalent than today, with out-of-control rents, lack of affordable housing, and homeless advocates such as myself are looking forward to a flood of more homeless people coming out onto the streets. I've witnessed a family of 6 with an 18-month-old baby living in a tent. I found a family that took them home with them. There's another family living up by Washington High School with children living in a tent. They were thrown out of their house because of a no-cause eviction. The thing that I'm finding really disturbing is that there's a monetization and industrialization of the human suffering through the homeless market. It's become profitable for some people to create themselves six-figure digits as administrators in some of these places, and then really actually forgetting what it is that they're trying to do. The only ethical business model is basically to put oneself out of business. Inevitably. Yes, the poor will be with us always, but they don't have to be living in our streets and dying in our doorways. Winter is coming. There's going to be some people who will die because of exposure. It happens every single year. This year, I want to stop it, and we need your help. There are certain areas that are designated or can be designated as campgrounds. A yurt community can look just like a micro community, and it'd be more tasteful for the community. Yes, there's going to be some ugliness to rehousing homelessness, and it's going to look a little bad at first, but it will get better. Intel had a chip that was flawed. It was going to show that it was going to have every 27,000 years, that there was going to be a flaw in a spreadsheet. But the internet community rose up and said, you've got to fix this. So Intel spent millions and millions of dollars to replace that chip. We have a government today that makes flawed decisions every single day and doesn't spend a dime on the mistakes that they make. We have got to turn this around. And now we have a perfect chance to work together, to start using some of the ideas that I know that you yourself has been looking into. All these options are very viable, and I think now is time to save lives and to start thinking about the humanity that's involved here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take the next one, 1010. Oh, please, folks. Please, we only applaud for visiting delegations. Local people, we just have to give them a thumbs up. We give special courtesy to visitors, and students. That's our other exception. So let's call Ms. Ying, please, 1010.
Request of Helen Ying to address council regarding camping and drug use, possession, and other issues in public spaces.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioners. And so I want to also say thank you for the new sidewalks in East Portland. Just seen how much has improved the community there. But today, what I want to come before you to address the lawlessness behavior, examples being using drug in the public, sleeping on the sidewalks, setting up tents. So I serve on the Old Town Chinatown Community Association as chair, and every time I, share about that with my friends, the first thing they bring up are the concerns about these kinds of behavior that they see. And most recently, one of our own board members, Evan, was attacked, while he was going home, getting into his car. Someone was trying to steal from him. So, even yesterday when I was in Old Town Chinatown, one of the women who lives in a shelter came up to me and said, hey, she thought she knew me, and she engaged me in a conversation. She says, where I'm from, she says she's from South Florida. We don't have this kind of people, sleeping on the sidewalks. She is in a shelter right now, and that's her concern. And she was trying to tell me some ideas of how to fix it. A few weeks ago, I went to Boston with my daughter. First thing she said to me, Mom, I only smell pee twice. So, she's, so envious of their walkway along the water. She says she doesn't feel safe or does not even want to run along our waterfront park because of all the behavior that's going on there. So, what I'm coming to you before you today is really ask you to consider being proactive in this matter, just like the gentleman who, spoke before me. And I believe that we have to be systematic as well as systemic in how we do this work. So, and one of the things that I'm talking about is like, what do we want our community, what do we want Portland to look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now? And we know that there's no silver bullet, but I believe that one of the most important things is to break down silos. I do see our government working in silos. And so to talk about how to be focused and collaborative at the same time, to connect the dots, to bring the public and the private efforts together, to replicate what works. I toured Portland Rescue Mission just the other day, and I see how wonderful the work they're doing there. heard about the North Park Block efforts. And I was in Boston, like I said, I visited Harvard, and they have this project going that's led by the students at Harvard to look at how to only, separate the young adults from shelters of people who have been on the streets for decades. So it takes leaders to work together hand in hand, and asking you as our Portland Council to work together hand in hand to invest in human capitals and resources, to look at a management plan, enforce the laws, support services include mental health and addiction, have high accountability, high support, to let our people know that you are lovable and capable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen. Thank you. Okay, item 1011, please.
Request of Charles J. Matuk to address council regarding lack of neighborhood safety, drug and camping problems.
Morning.
Morning. Thank you for making this time available. We appreciate it. My name is Charles Matuk, and my fiancée Alicia Matos and I own Charlie's Deli at 22 Northwest 4th in Old Chinatown. We live 6 blocks away in Old Town, and so we consider both our walk, work, and play neighborhoods. We have great neighborhoods at both the shop and home, and we feel a community around us each day. I have the great opportunity to live in several major cities around the country and the world. And the one thing that stands out most when comparing and contrasting Portland to all of these major cities I've visited or lived in is the fact that there are so many individuals that occupy the streets every day without shelter. It's tough for the individuals. I hear a lot of them screaming each day, and I think in the end it's because people feel that they're not being listened to anymore, and there's nobody that cares. I care. I'm sure all of you care. My community cares, both where I work and where I live. It's obvious, but we just don't see enough action other than people caring sometimes. We need to forge ahead and make certain that if someone needs or wants to come off the street, they have that opportunity. We need to encourage beautification and perhaps put more of the houseless community to work in programs like Clean and Safe to clean up their own streets and our streets daily so that at least we can be better, cleaner neighbors. The new 4th Avenue intersection is opening soon. For now, people who cross Burnside onto the northwest side of 4th Ave towards Cooch find themselves really unable to travel the entirety of the block on either side because of clusters of people that occupy it day in and day out. Mostly because they don't have many other options, or some that choose to just not move. Most people that use my block use the asphalt roadway each day, and on 4th, that's kind of a gamble. The trash and the debris that gets cleaned up each day, that I get out there and clean up each day, comes back each day. The one thing that I have been able to see over the last 10 months working in the neighborhood has been building rapport helps. Speaking with individuals on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, getting to know people's names. After all, they are my neighbors. And so we just try to make better neighbors. It's worked. It's worked for me. I have specific individuals who make it a point to borrow a broom and sweep up once in a while, who try to vacate my side of the block, although unfortunately that just creates clutter on the opposite side of the block for another business and another resident. There's no access or egress to parking spots, and the city does have the audacity to issue parking tickets to spots that I cannot access or egress safely. That's always a sore spot for me. There's no access to bicycle spots that are completely overtaken by personal property. It doesn't promote people coming into our neighborhood. And with that intersection opening up, it almost seems like an intersection to nowhere should we do nothing to allow people to traverse it. I'd love to propose no loitering areas where active residential units exist and businesses exist, at least during business hours. Individuals need help. Mostly everybody out there are not bad people. They just need some attention, help, and compassion. The streets should never be an option.
Thank you very much. I hope you continue to stay involved with the Old Town Chinatown Neighborhood Association and the Business Association. They're doing a good job of working together on these issues, and just appreciate the spirit that you're bringing to that work. So thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, one more public communication, item 1012, please.
Request of Bud Coe to address council regarding North Park Block issues.
Okay, Mr. Coe. All right, he may not be here. We'll give him another opportunity. So let's move to the consent calendar. I have no items yet pulled from consent. Are there any requests to pull items from the consent calendar, the regular calendar? If not, then let's please take a roll call vote on the consent calendar.
Yeah, Mr. Lightning, that was, your item is on the regular agenda, so we'll get to that. Novick,
Aye.
Fritz,
Aye.
Fish.
Aye.
Saltzman.
Aye.
Hales.
Aye. Okay. Now I believe we're ready to move into our regular agenda. Let's start with item 1020, please.
Declare the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples' Day in the city of Portland and encourage other institutions to recognize the day. Reaffirm the city's commitment to promote the prosperity and well-being of Portland's American Indian, Alaska Native, and Indigenous community.
Well, good morning and welcome. This is a great day for Portland and great day for our Indigenous citizens and for those of this state. This is an idea that's come forward out of the community and has been brought to this council for action, and I know we're looking forward to the discussion and to that action. You know, when you think about it, we don't really have power over history, but history has some power over us. History shapes the watercourse that our lives are lived in. And I think there's some things we can do in light of that history. We can remember, and we can repair, and we can respect. Remembering is important, and it's important that we understand history, and it's actually one of my favorite subjects, and one of the things that I've been trying to do to better educate myself about the true history of this country is read some of the great books that have been published over the last few years about our Native American history. My current read, I just flew back from visiting my son yesterday. I'm reading The Heart of Everything That Is, the amazing story about Red Cloud, the leader of the Sioux, during the huge conflicts of the 1860s. Empire of the Summer Moon, about Quanah Parker, the great leader of the Comanche. I think it's incumbent on each of us, regardless of our cultural history, to try to understand the history of our neighbors, our native neighbors, our immigrants who come here from so many other countries. So it's a responsibility of citizenship, I think, to remember and to learn. And I hope we all do that today and not just today. The second thing we can do is repair, because there are still injustices and problems that flow from that history. One of the efforts underway in this community that I'm so proud of is what the Portland Public School District is doing under the leadership of Lorenzo Poe and with the support of our Black Male Achievement Initiative effort here in the Office of Equity and Human Rights, is they've taken on the fact that African American boys and Native American boys are disciplined, excluded or suspended or expelled 4 times as often as white kids. And no surprise, when that happens several times in a student's life, they're much less likely to graduate, much less likely to succeed in their hopes and dreams. So the Portland School District has said, let's cut that rate of difference between Native boys and African American boys and the rest of the school population. Let's cut that difference in half in a year, and they're doing it. So I want to praise the good, because that's excellent work by the school district, and that's one of the many pieces of repair we need to do to make sure that this is a city of opportunity for everyone. And then the third piece is to respect the tribal communities that are here, that have always been here, and that are part of our community life today. And again, want to praise the good. I know many of us here were involved in the opening of the Telecom Crossing Bridge and involved in its planning as well. And I think that was a high watermark, if you will, in the relationship between public agencies and our tribal leaders and communities in this state, of both planning a project and then naming the project and then providing public art for the project and then opening the project in a way that really respected that history and the role that the tribes have played here in our state. And again, I know many of you here were involved in that effort. So those are the themes that come to me as I think about this issue here today. We are the home of the 9th largest Native American population in the United States. Our urban Native community is descended from more than 200 tribes. The history of our indigenous communities is woven into the fabric of the city. It includes things like a shared commitment to environmental stewardship, which again was so evident in the Telecom Crossing project. So we're asking the council today to support declaring the second Monday of October Indigenous Peoples' Day and encouraging other organizations and jurisdictions and businesses to join us. So I want to call some folks forward to address this. We have a list of invited testimony, but it will begin first with a song from Rebecca Kurt and members of the Klamath and Ojibwe tribes an honor song. So welcome, and we're so glad you're here. Thank you very much. Let me call forward Seodam Edmo, who's one of the members of our Human Rights Commission, and Matt Morton from NAYA. And then we also have members of the Tribal Council of the Grand Ronde here, as well as other tribes. So let's take Seodam and Matt first, and then we'll call up our tribal leaders. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning first to our elected tribal leaders within our presence, Mayor Hales, City Council. I am very honored to be here with you this morning, not only as a tribal person, but as a person who was born and raised within the city of Portland, raising children in the city of Portland, and now serving the city of Portland as a Human Rights Commissioner. I'm Shoshone, Bannock, Nez Perce, and Yakima, and the village where my family comes from is Celilo Village along the Columbia River, and I'm just really overwhelmed by this first step that I see towards recognizing the legal and social foundations of what now is known as the City of Portland, and welcome you in a process to engage with sovereign tribal nations, to engage with the community of tribal people here in Portland in making the city a stronger place. So I'll just open with those comments and thank you for this step forward.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. It is a really great day to be here and to be Indigenous in Portland. It's a great week knowing the action that you're taking today kicks off so much more from other jurisdictions within our area. My name is Matt Morton. I'm from the Squaxin Island tribe, and I have the privilege of serving as the executive director of the Native American Youth and Family Center here in Portland. As Mayor Hales mentioned, we have one of the largest Native communities in the United States, over 40,000 Native people representing hundreds of different tribes from all over the country. I'm really excited to be here today, and as Seodam mentioned, my hope is that the action today only serves as the beginning of the support that Portland can offer our community as we seek a self-determined strategy to live and thrive in Portland. One such strategy, in partnership with both public and private entities, is a place that provides Native Americans and Alaska Native families with the stability and support necessary to break the cycle of intergenerational poverty historically experienced by Natives living in the Portland metro area. We call it at NAIA generations, and it's the beginning of the way things used to be. Combining 40 units of affordable housing with a community center and early learning academy on 3.5 acres in the Lentz neighborhood, Generations offers families, neighbors, and friends the love, the respect, and the dignity that has graced so many other Portland communities, but until now has been an elusive dream to too many natives living in Portland. In the coming weeks, I'm going to reach out to each and every one of you and ask you for your support to make this dream a reality. Together as partners, we can reduce poverty, we can improve health and wellness, and add the Native community's own fabric to the patchwork quilt of Portland's success. As I close, I'd like to share with you an excerpt from the Great Binding Law, which is the Constitution of the Iroquois Nations. Look and listen for the welfare of the whole people, and have always in view not only the present, but also the coming generations, even those whose faces are yet beneath the surface of the ground, the unborn of the future nation. That's a really tall order, and it's no wonder this law served as an inspiration for our own American Constitution. Locally here in Portland, its vision binds us together as we align our efforts and our investments with the need of both the present and future Native Portlanders. Thank you again for your action today, and it is an absolute pleasure to wish you a happy Indigenous Peoples Day.
Thank you. Thanks very much. So we have a number of tribal leaders here. Let's begin with the representatives of the Grand Ronde who are here who'd like to speak. Please come up. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Mayor Hale, panel. My name is Renalino. I'm the tribal chairman of the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. Some of our other leadership is here, is Cheryl Kennedy, our tribal secretary, council secretary, John George, Denise Harvey. I don't know if we got it's kind of like a test, seeing who's here and who's not. It's a real honor to be here today. I really want to say that. I think this proclamation of Indigenous People for Monday is really a first step forward. We took great honor in being, using our language for the naming of the Tillicum Crossing. That was very unique. That day of escorting the train, the tram across the bridge the first time, I think was historical for us. I think we are the people of this. We carry the Willamette Valley Treaty that runs clear to the top of the mountains on one side and to the east, and the west side to the Coast Range to the south is just one of our 7 treaties. Huge amount of ground. Portland all lies within that. But our relation with Portland is just not to the city, it's actually to the ground. I was thinking of that. I did an interview out in the hallway. People said, one of the questions, well, when did you start working on this? And I thought for a moment, when did we start working on it? And for some of us who were around at termination, I was 5 years old. We started working on it in 1954 to tell our story, because that's when the government, by a piece of paper and pencil, said, you ain't Indian anymore. And to me, you can't erase history and culture with a piece of paper and pencil, but you can do things like this, the acknowledgement of Native American people. So our connection to Portland is with the land. And as I said in my interview, you can pour a lot of concrete, you can pour a lot of blacktop, you can lay down a lot of gravel, but it doesn't change. For us, when we come here, we walk in the footsteps of our ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years. And that is really important to us. So to have you acknowledge that by naming this day is very great. And then I'd also like to acknowledge all of our other Native Americans here and that have come here for this day and that'll participate on Monday. So for me, this is a very historical, moving day. I've been on our council for 20 years, and our battle to let people know what is going on and tell our story. And we've even gone as far as to create our own curriculum now. And we're working with some of the Portland schools to actually teach our curriculum in the schools. So it's a great thing. I just want to acknowledge all of what you've done, and this is a first step forward, and we just need to keep going in a positive direction, not only for Grand Ronde, but for everybody. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Greetings from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. Appreciate this wonderful day that's been set aside. To me, it truly represents that there is a change in the hearts of people, that when people put their hearts and minds together, change can happen. And I really appreciate that is what is happening today. And for the great city of Portland to be able perhaps to be one of the first in the nation, I don't know, but to establish Indigenous Day is truly, you will go down in history showing the leadership that you've exhibited here today. I want to thank you for doing that, and especially from the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde. Ren and I are close relatives, and our grandfathers were the ones who took care of the Willamette Falls. We were the keepers of the falls. Our grandfathers were born there, treaty signers of our treaties. So I, in particular, want to thank you for doing that. We also have a couple of gifts, but I believe that John has something to say before we make the presentation.
Good morning, John.
Lahayam in our language means, hello, good day to you. So we really appreciate this opportunity, and an honor that you are bestowing upon the Native people here. I just wanted you to know that we are the ancestors of the people of this area, of the Clackamas, the Multnomah, and the Tuolumne people here. And so what an honor that it is that you recognize, the natives here in this area, but also today to create a day and to also create a day allowing Native people to come and speak, on behalf of that. What a great celebration it is today for Portland to recognize that. And so as a tribal leaders, that we always want to have the opportunity to have partnership with our local governments and our governments, and also the opportunity, for the educational part of that, of telling you who the people are, that we always remember, as we are an oral people. And so that we always want to be able to tell our story and to always to remember, let people remember who we are. And so in this, we thank you for this opportunity today. And we would like to bestow gifts upon each and every one of you for this, to thank you and welcoming us into your home today. So.
We have a picture here, and it's from taken on the Tillicum Bridge crossing, and it's a picture of our color guard.
Ah, wonderful.
Ren is part of our color guard, a veteran from our tribe, and so it's customary to make a presentation of friendship, of a necklace to all of our friends. Thank you again. It's good to see you all.
Thank you.
We'll find a place of honor here in City Hall for that wonderful photograph that captures that moment. I was on that first train coming across the bridge, and the excitement inside the train was palpable, just like it was in the whole community as that honor guard came across. So thanks for capturing that nice moment in our city's history. So I know we have some representatives of some Columbia River tribes here, Jeremy Five Crows, Nicole Charlie, others. Please, anyone from any of our sovereign tribal governments and communities that would like to come forward, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, Commissioners and Mayor Hales. My name is Jeremy Five Crows. I am a Nez Perce tribe, and actually I'm happy to report that I'm a descendant of the Nez Perce that were banished from Oregon in 1877, and I'm happy to report that I've found a welcome home here in Portland. The Nez Perce is one of 4 Columbia River Treaty tribes represented by the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission, which is based here in Portland. Several years ago, I saw a piece of graffiti art near my home on Hawthorne Boulevard, and it read, "Everywhere you are, Indians have been." And this is true. Every hill, every creek, every meadow, every forest, every inch of the Willamette River bank in the city has a story of its connection to the indigenous peoples who lived here or traveled here to utilize the resources that the fertile Willamette Valley provided. People learned to believe that the history of this land we call home began in 1492, because that's where the history books often start. The European arrival in the Americas certainly was pivotal in history, however, it was far from its beginning. For far too long, thousands of years of indigenous culture, history, learning, and wisdom has been dismissed or ignored as prehistory that has nothing to do with today. Sadly, all that many people know of the indigenous people who lived here before them is what they learned from the introductory chapter in their Oregon history textbooks. Fortunately, times are changing and we live in a different era. There's a growing awareness that this event is a painful reminder to the tribes. Actions like this declaration of Indigenous Peoples Day helps with this healing, as well as promotes a greater understanding of the indigenous people who are an important part of our shared American story. This declaration gives us the opportunity to honor the thousands of Portland citizens with indigenous ancestry, their culture, and the sacrifices their ancestors that opened this landscape for everyone. It also gives us the opportunity to educate the city citizens by learning about the indigenous cultures of this place and what they knew about living here. The city is enriched with a greater understanding of its shared history and the traditional ecological knowledge that could help further the city's environmental and sustainability goals. The land upon which this city is built molded the cultures of the tribes who called it home, just as it continues to mold the culture of Portland today. The tribes believe that we are of this land. This is true for everyone on earth. For all of us, this land is both the source of our strength and our greatest responsibility. This might be the most important teaching that the modern world could learn from Indigenous peoples' cultures and experiences. I hope that of all things this declaration brings, it is the realization that the Indigenous peoples' story is part of all of our collective story. We are all connected to one another and to this place we call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners and Mayor Hales. My name is Nicole Charlie. I'm of the Taichpom Band. I'm a member of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, one of the 4 Columbia River Treaty tribes, also a member of the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. Our creation story teaches us that we were created in this landscape. Our brothers and sisters, the salmon, the game, the roots, and the berries offered to provide for us. And as a result, we have a responsibility to help take care of them. This relationship provides a cultural foundation that guides everything that we do. And this cultural foundation is often overshadowed by the tales of Christopher Columbus and of the expansion of the West. These events forever changed our communities, our families, and the resources that we rely on. The creation of Indigenous Peoples Day would be an important first step in broadening our cultural education for Portland citizens. It provides an important platform to educate those around us about the cultures upon which the city of Portland has been built. It allows us to share stories about the sacrifices that have been made in the name of development and highlights the struggles for a cultural way of life that defines our pasts and our future generations. The city of Portland has a robust and proud Native community. I grew up in Central Oregon and came to Portland for high school, stayed for college, and stayed for work, so it's my second home and I love it. We can be found at powwows in Pioneer Courthouse Square, harvesting lamprey at Willamette Falls, and celebrating the first salmon at Celilo in the springtime. This is a great time to honor the culture and sacrifices of our ancestors that opened this landscape for everyone. It's time to share the complete history of Portland, and the creation of an Indigenous Peoples Day is one step in doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you both. Thank you very much. Are there other representatives of our tribes here who'd like to speak? And we'll give them the courtesies first, and then, please. And then we'll turn to the sign-up sheet. Welcome back. Thank you so much for the honor song.
Waklisi, Buja Neshna, Indigenous Cause Rebecca Kirk. Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca Kirk. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm an enrolled member of the Klamath Tribes. I'm also Leech Lake Ojibwe. I was born and raised here in Portland, Oregon. I'm the granddaughter of Barbara Alatorre Farmer, who in the 70s in 1969, and from there forward started the first Native American encampment powwow, Delta Park Powwow. I just want to say one thing, and that is that I, as a Native woman, look forward to bringing my future children into a world where we no longer celebrate a man who caused a lot of pain to our Native people, but rather an Indigenous Day where we are able to celebrate and embrace who we are as Native people. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Thank you. So let's turn, please, to the sign-up sheet if we have others that would like to speak.
I have about 9 other people. The first 3, please come on up, are Milt Markowitz, Marilee Day, and Dante James.
Good morning. Come on up, please. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
Thank you, Mayor Hales, City Councilman, and particularly Hector Miramontes, for bringing this proclamation forth to make October 12th Indigenous Peoples Day. My name is Marilee Day. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I'm active in the Cully Neighborhood Association, where NAIA has its home. I want to share with you a book, and I think because you love to read history, it's called The Indigenous People's History of the United States. It's written by a doctor, Dunbar Ortiz, who herself is Indigenous. We found it to be really past time to truly honor the Indigenous people after reading this. If we had used the paradigm of the Métis people to protect our environment, our water, air, land, and forest for future generations, actually for 7 generations, we would not be in the fix we're in right now of warm water in the Columbia and fires raging everywhere and a drought in half of the country. I urge the City Council to pass this proclamation, to honor all of the treaties and to consult our Indigenous elders whenever the natural resources are at risk, such as the fossil fuel exports and fossil fuel infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, council members. My name is Milt Markowitz, and I'm the first of this group who is not Native. My grandparents are from Russia and Germany. But I want to commend you first for having this day, for doing the listening, doing all the work that you're doing. It's very incredible. I'm proud to be a Portlander. I was born and raised in Portland. I went to Hillside Chapman Grade School, went to Lincoln High School, and then I went to Whitman College, the Navy, and I worked for IBM, where I was fortunate enough to return to Portland for the end of my career. And part of that work in IBM, probably the most significant work, was working with other cultures and seeing how other cultures really think differently. And it's wonderful to have the Japanese delegation here, because it was from the Japanese that I learned to see manufacturing as a living process. It's very different than is seen in most American, and something to be learned from, I think. I became a pro bono consultant after I retired, got into education a little bit, but mostly I got into sustainability. And the Indigenous sustainability message was the only message that made sense to me. It was about finding balance and harmony on the earth, about having ecological integrity, social harmony, and having an economic system that was consistent with the guidelines of what's necessary to keep the ecological integrity and social harmony. So it's very different than the society that we have today. I helped a sustainability company start up and found from that work that I needed to go back to school and I needed to understand the consciousness of the garden. I needed to understand living systems, and I did. And what I found out was one of the many things, was that the theory that underlies sustainability is living systems. And that makes sense, I think, to everybody when they hear it. But if you think about the work that we're doing, you don't see living systems anywhere. You don't see an understanding of it. You don't see it taught. It's not part of the STEM standards. It's a piece of work that's really missing. And it's so present when I hear Native people speak. My current work is infusing Indigenous wisdom into Western cultures. And I go about it with the following assumptions, which are a little harsh, but and off the beaten path for today's celebration, but I'll share them with you. The Western world has institutionalized not being sustainable. We find that in business, in politics, in religion, in education, everywhere. The consciousness that creates a problem, like we're having now with global climate change, which is overwhelming the changes, the good things that we're doing, isn't sufficient for solving the problem. We have to find a different consciousness.
Give you a little more time, but you need to wrap up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really ran over here. Current actions raise consciousness incrementally. They're necessary but not sufficient. Our desired state is homostasis, as I mentioned, and the indigenous cultures have lived this state for millennia. So I think that the work that I would like to do, what I did when I went back to school, was understood living systems. I developed curriculum. I developed a curve of hope. I developed archetypes for sustainability. I developed a living system curriculum. And I'm not saying this to toot my horn. I'm just saying these bridges, I think, are what we need to be able to really listen to and appreciate and live the way people have lived for millennia and blend it with the system that we cherish so much. So thank you again. I appreciate your openness, listen and learn, and welcome the opportunity to share more in depth.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good morning.
Good morning, Council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Dante James. I'm the Director of the City's Office of Equity and Human Rights. And besides that, as a fairly recent transplant to Portland and an employee of the City of Portland, I am truly grateful and honored that I work for the city as the City of Portland truly leads the way in making this recognition for Native peoples today. This day is symbolic, as you can see all around you and what you have on your neck. It's symbolic. But it's also a promise not to forget what the symbol means, and a promise to remember that this is a first step in acknowledging and creating greater awareness of Native peoples in this community and what they bring and how they have been left out of so many things. And so the promise for future generations is what I would hope that we can put in place, that this day will always mean something to everyone in the city. And so I guess as my somewhat official request, I would encourage the adoption and acceptance of this resolution naming Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the work of your office and our commission in preparing it, and getting it ready for us today. Thank you very much. Okay, let's take the next.
Next three are Janet Markley Hayes, Diame, and Charles Johnson.
Come on up, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes.
Bonjour, Nishna, Diami Thomas, Indigenous Cause on the Wajin Ojibwe. Hello, my name is Diami Thomas. I'm Klamath Ojibwe, and I'm a former Multnomah Youth Commissioner in 2011. I'm just going to keep this really brief. Growing up, I was never taught the real truth in school. We were taught to praise Columbus for his discovery. I think it's time for people to know the actual truth of what really happened, because something so brutal should never be disguised as heroic. Indigenous people are still here thriving. Indigenous people were here long ago. Indigenous people will be here many years after I'm gone. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Charles Johnson. And I think before I say anything else, I just want people to write down 6 letters of the alphabet: C, R, I, T, F, C. Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission. It's been mentioned before, but we're all internet-y connected people, so whether you .org that or put it in Facebook, it's a chance to learn more about the survivors of genocide and the survivors of land theft and dishonesty. Many of us, people who have migrated to Portland in the last 200 years, can say, oh, my ancestors didn't even come to the United States until after the worst genocide of manifest destiny. But we're still living on stolen land, and we're still, in many ways, blind, rude, and insensitive about the injuries that have been caused to the 4 tribes that are in part of the Intertribal Fish Commission, and the many other tribes along the river up past the Umatilla Reservation and throughout North America, really. So it's incumbent upon us, regardless of when our ancestors came here, whether we're first-generation Americans or Mayflower Americans, to do the right thing, to assist, to partner with, not assist. They have brilliant skills and knowledge that will probably save us during climate chaos, but we need to partner with them respectfully to stave off that climate chaos, deal with the incoming climate refugees that Mr. Novick is always advising us about, and make a space for true leadership for people from the indigenous tribes, and also reduce barriers to indigenous people from all over North America. We know that there are now probably hundreds of thousands of immigrants from Central and South America working very hard to help us build a great community here in Portland. And we want to make sure that we do everything in our power to reduce barriers and oppression for people whose roots go back here tens of thousands of years, and make more space for the leadership of the Grand Ronde tribe, Warm Springs tribe, descendants of the Multnomah and Clackamas people, and really know that it's not that important for us to step up and take leadership positions, but to step back and hear the voice of Native women and men to this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. Next, please.
Was there a Janet Markley Hayes? The next 3 then are Leo Rhodes, Ed Edmo, and Idalis Riggs.
Please, come on up. If you're here and still wish to speak, so come on up, please. Good morning. Welcome.
Morning.
Yat Ebene, Shea Idalis Riggs and Shea Hona, Nina Schlank, Laslana Bushichin, Tabaha Dashache, Torajini Dashanale, Nashtuits on that Nasha. Good morning, everyone. My name is Idalis Riggs. I come from the One Who Walks Around, people born for the Many Goats people. My maternal grandparents are of the Bitterwater people. My paternal grandparents are of the Edgewater people. I'm from the Diné tribe of Wildcat Peak, Arizona, and I'm currently a second-year student at Portland State University. And on behalf of the Native American Student and Community Center, and being Miss Naimuma, and also a community member, I've been here for 6 years. I just like to say thank you, and it's a real honor to be here and to have Indigenous Peoples Day, because I personally am very traditional, and I like to share my culture and my tradition, and this is a first step to doing that, to teaching others about ourselves, about our history and what we went through, and sharing our knowledge with them, and it really means a lot to us Indigenous people. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. And we appreciate the student leaders from Portland State. So thank you for that, taking that responsibility. Good morning.
Morning. I'm Ed Edmo. I'm Shoshone Bannock Nez Yakima. Thank you for the leadership of the city. I'm a leader also. I'm a great-grandson of Chief Aramo from the Shoshone Bannock tribe. I was born on the Duck Valley Indian Reservation in 1946. My mom must have wrote to my grandparents lived at Slough, so we caught the train up. I've been on the river for 6 to 8 years and 6 months. Long visit. I really commend you on this Indigenous Day project because in school I was raised with a lot of prejudice in the Dalles, Oregon. That hat that was from Johnny's Cafe, only a restaurant were allowed to eat in the Dalles. There were signs in the window saying no dogs or Indians allowed. Walked down the street, white boys would spit on me. I was raised with overt prejudice, you know. So I carried that hurt with me and tried to drown it in Tokay wine. I spent 12 years on the streets. Slept in every doorway underneath every bridge except the Fremont in Portland for 12 years. Now I'm in recovery today. It's important that we help those that want help. We know people need help, but it's good to offer these things. I know Dave Barrios, the officer of the parks, he's a kind man who's offering assistance to the homeless to get services, not to bust them, you know. It's good work that people are doing with that event to get people off the streets, to give them shelter, because I spent times it's cold out there. It rains a lot, you know. And I've seen a lot of death in my family. My nephew drank himself to death, being on the streets, you know, so I've seen that happen. What we're talking about here is respect and tell the Indian legend. I need everyone's help. Can everyone go like this, make noise like a snake? Everyone. I know you people, I know you got a mean face, so put your mean face on and do a snake. Good mean faces. Long time ago, there was a young boy named Snake. Had arms and legs. Snake liked to run races. Snake liked to climb trees. Most of all, Snake liked to jump off of cliffs into sand. Snake didn't like anything he would say. He'd always say, people, what are you going to do about that snake? He makes us ashamed to go visit. That night, when Snake was asleep, medicine woman snuck Snake's lodge, cut off his arms and legs, rubbed Indian mints on him and he healed up. Everyone get your hands up, everyone. All night that night, they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. Help me say it, everyone. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. Everyone get your hands up and help me say it, everyone. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. Come on, Dan. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. All night they rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, rolled Snake, and sang a magic song. As the sun was coming up in the east, Snake was long and round. You know how snakes look today? And they threw him down and he slithered away beneath people's feet. Snakes, they remember what people did to them long, long time ago. What do snakes say when they see human beings nowadays? Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we tell that stuff to have respect for other people's difference. Thank you for the respect you're bestowing on us by making Indigenous Day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll suspend the rules for that. Thank you very much.
Hi, I just want to thank the council for this inducting in this, putting Indigenous Peoples Day for Portland. Like the young lady here, I'm from the Southwest also. I'm a full-blooded Pima from the Gila River Indian Reservation. And that's one of the things, like you were saying, Mayor, you're reading a book about the Great Plains people, the Sioux. Well, a lot of the people are thinking all those tribes are like the Great Plains people. my people, the Southwest, we do have our dances and we do have our singing and praying, but also we're about art, drawings, and pottery. When you come up here to the Northwest, it's a totally different culture up here, which I enjoy going to different tribes or different areas and learning about those cultures. And that's what we need is more education like this, bringing it more on out. I am a homeless advocate, and I've always talked about homelessness and also that. Up in Seattle, I was one of the board members of a place called Chief Seattle Club, which was a Native American day shelter. I was their dishwasher, but I was also a board member. And as a board member, I was the only homeless person on that board. So they asked, what can we do for the homeless people, or what should be our mission statement? Well, I first told them, well, we need to get the drugs, the alcohol out of their system. And when you do that, they have an empty feeling inside. And so we need to put the prayers, the singing, the drumming, and all the legends back into their system. So to me, this is kind of the same way. When in Native Americans, that's how they feel. They feel lost because they don't have something like this that brings out their culture and everybody helps on out with it. They do have the powwows, yes, and that does come on out. But if it's a bigger, broader expansion of the whole state coming on out, I mean, that is even better, or the whole city coming on out, that's even better. So this right here is what I'm saying is that making these ties or bringing this on out, it would make us stronger band or working together kind of thing. Would also like to say that the gentleman that was asking about the affordable housing, yeah, I would like to get on that project, to help out the less fortunate, getting in the Native Americans and helping out with that part too. And I would encourage you also to make sure that this does happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
What's your name in the record?
Oh, my name is Leo Rhodes.
Thanks, Leo. Thank you all
Thank you.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there others that are signed up, Carl?
That's all who signed up.
Anyone else that would like to speak who hasn't signed up? Then unless the council has any questions, we'll take a vote, please.
Novick?
It's a great honor to be part of this day. I grew up in a time when some people in the United States were beginning to think about the treatment of indigenous peoples. I grew up reading Custer Died for Your Sins by Vine Deloria and Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by Dee Brown, and following the work of the American Indian movement. Years later, as I was working with the Justice Department, one of my best friends was Kalen Free from the Choctaw Nation. And on, quote, Columbus Day in 1992 is the 500th anniversary, so there were these celebrations at Washington Mall, and Kalen was out there with a group of protesters. And somebody from Australian television came up to her and asked her, why are you protesting? She said, well, we don't celebrate the birthdays or commemorate in any way Ted Bundy or Son of Sam. So some of us indigenous peoples don't understand why people are celebrating Columbus. There's a couple of things that one national, one local, that we can do to honor Native people that I just want to bring up. There's a move to get Andrew Jackson off the $20 bill and replace him with a woman. Andrew Jackson, and partly it's about honoring women, but also partly it's about the fact that Andrew was the guy who sent the Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Cherokee, and Seminole away, the so-called 5 civilized tribes, away from the Southeast, forced them to go to Oklahoma against the direct order of the United States Supreme Court. So simply removing Andrew Jackson, whoever's replaced with, would honor Native people. There was an online vote as to who should replace him. I voted for Wilma Mankiller, the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation. Harriet Tubman won the vote. She'd also, would be a good candidate. Also locally, I apologize for not having done something about this earlier. A couple of years ago, I noticed that in my neighborhood, the Multnomah Village, there's a park, Custer Park, which is named after George Armstrong Custer. And this morning, I confess it, I did get around to it until today. I emailed the chair of my neighborhood association saying, can we initiate a process to change the name of Custer Park to something honoring Native people? An obvious choice, of course, would be Crazy Horse, because we were talking about Custer, but obviously we should take a look at some phrase or name honoring local Native tribes or leaders. So I ask you to join me in those two efforts, and thank you so much for everything everybody said today. Thanks for joining us. It's a great honor to be part of this today. Aye.
Fritz?
Thank you for honoring us with your presence this morning. And some people will say that this is tokenism. It's not. It's a symbol. It's a nudge to Commissioner Novick, who I've been encouraging to submit that request for quite some time. And I've told him that as Parks Commissioner, I will be more than happy to entertain a suggestion for renaming that park. I thank the Native peoples of this area, and particularly the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde under then Chairwoman Cheryl Kennedy, who in my first term arranged a training for City Council staff and for City Council members. And it was held in the Portland building, and I was walking into the Portland building with Chairwoman Kennedy, and she said, "Welcome." And I learned and came to understand that this is I stand on tribal ground, and that even though I thought of the Portland building as something that I had reserved the room for, it was in fact, I do that because of the treaties which assigned me the responsibility to do that through the treaty with the tribes, through the treaties of the 1850s with all of the tribes. And so that was very, very helpful to me to understand that. We then helped write the tribal consultation policy, which I believe has been very helpful in formulating first the Portland plan and now the comprehensive plan, and has had some significant influence in very important policy decisions, especially the West Hayden Island decision and other river protection efforts. And I need to mention right now Patty Howard, who can't be here today. She's sick, but she worked for 7 years for the Columbia River Intertribal Fish Commission and has taught me a lot about the treaty rights, especially with regards to fishing and the rivers. It's a great partnership to know that the sovereign nations are continuing to look after the lands of your ancestors. The Columbus dude was not English. I am so happy he was not English, because there's so many things that I apologize for that my ancestors did, including the subsequent invasion of this country and the genocide that happened. And I am truly sorry that my ancestors did that. It gives me even more reason to need to make practical amends. So in addition to the policy changes and this hugely important symbol, which I'm very proud to support, we've been doing many things, starting with new emphasis under Mayor Potter, continuing under Mayor Sam Adams, and now thank you, Mayor Harris, for your continued leadership. We have been supporting Native peoples through the Diverse Civic Leadership Program through the Office of Neighborhood Involvement. I was very happy last week to be with Councilmember George at the Oregon Native American Chamber, where we gave scholarships to Native youth who were just so fantastic. And we support the Multnomah Youth Commission. We had a member testify here, Rebecca Kirk, our honor singer, who's so beautiful. Didn't mention that not only was she a Multnomah County Youth Commissioner, she won the Spirit of Portland Award in 2010. So we have a new history of honoring our Native peoples and our sovereign nations here, and we're putting the money behind it. I appreciate Commissioner Saltzman for his leadership on the Generations Project. So it's not just the renaming and the symbolic resolutions, it's practical assistance, and we must do more. We owe a great debt, and we very much appreciate the ongoing partnership. Thank you for being present and honoring us with your ceremonial drumming and singing, and being at the opening of the South Waterfront Greenway, as well as the Tillicum Crossing. I'm glad that now people across our city are thinking who needs to be invited and who should be at the table, who should be honored. This resolution honors our great sovereign nations. Thank you. Aye.
Bish?
Well, I'm proud to join with my colleagues in thanking all of our honored guests for being with us today. Thank you for the gifts, and thank you for the powerful words. The last time that I spent with you was when I was invited to join you at the opening of the Tillicum Crossing. And was a singular honor to march with the Grand Ron and the larger family of Native Americans here in our metro area to be the first to march across the bridge. In fact, ahead of the streetcar and the MAX train. And I marched with Paul Lumley and Philip Hilaire and Matt Morton and many others, and it was a profound honor. We have a shared destiny in our city. We are inextricably linked. And the next big challenge on the horizon is Superfund. We have a shared interest in restoring the Willamette. And we each have different legal responsibilities that we bring to the table. But in the next couple of years, Superfund is going to become very real. And so we look forward to working with you and the broader community to get the cleanup right so that future generations can have a healthy and restored river to celebrate. Mayor, thank you for bringing this resolution, and I'm quite honored to vote aye.
Saltzman?
I also want to thank Mayor Hales and the tribal leaders for bringing this proclamation to us today. I think it's very important. And it's been a very informative session we've had this morning. I mean, it's no secret that our treatment of Indigenous peoples is absolutely shameful. This is one small way to make an amend, and an important one for us to recognize. And I'm very pleased to support this. I also, when I first got to City Council in the late 1990s, I led the effort to create our Office of Sustainable Development. And a lot of people, sustainability is a big concept today in Portland. It's a part of our economic future. It's part of how we view ourselves. But, it's often has very convoluted definitions. You ask any three different people and you get three different definitions of sustainability. I always like to keep it simple, and I think it's really building on a native concept, which is sustainability is simply living lightly on the land. I think that conveys a lot to people, and I think that's what you have helped to convey to us. So I'm very honored to support this proclamation today, and thank you. Aye.
Hales?
Well, this is a great day. I'm so proud of our city, and thank you to this council for their full-hearted support of doing the right thing. I want to thank and respect the fact that we've had leaders of sovereign nations here today, and both tribal elders and youth leaders who are part of the next generation of tribal leaders in our community and leaders in community life here through organizations like NAA. Matt, thank you so much for you and your organization and all that you do. I want to return to something Commissioner Fritz said, because I think it's a characteristic of who we are as a city, and it's why this matters. And that is, we are a city that is actually making an effort, being mindful about being inclusive, not just hoping that we'll get there. If I can be forgiven to returning to the analogy of the river, we can drift and hope, or we can paddle to where we want to go. So thanks to having a paddle, I will keep that in mind, that we should actually decide that we want to be a community that is inclusive, that celebrates all the amazing variety of cultures that we have in our city now, and particularly remembers and respects the native cultures who were here long before. So this is a good day, and I'm very proud to be part of this council. I'm very proud to vote aye, and want to suspend the rules for a moment so that we can just celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. Thank you all very much. We'll take a recess for a few minutes. Thank you all so much. We're going to get back to the work in a moment. Important and less wonderful business. Let's move, please, to item 1021.
Authorize a grant agreement with Legacy Health to support the construction of the Unity Center for Behavioral Health in an amount not to exceed $500,000.
Without objection, that's going to be rescheduled for council action on October 14th. And 1022.
Waive Title 33, Planning and Zoning to allow short-term temporary public use of an indoor track and field facility at 2400 Northwest Front Avenue from December 1, 2015 through February 28, 2016.
Second reading, roll call vote, please.
Novick?
Aye.
Fritz?
Aye.
Fish? Sorry, Saltzman?
Aye.
Hales?
Very happy to vote aye. Thank you. 1023.
Authorize a 5-year price agreement for purchase of hydrants and valves from Mueller Co. LLC for an amount not to exceed $5,220,000.
Good morning, Ms. Moody. Mr. Kovach.
Good morning, Mayor, Commissioners. Christine Moody, Procurement Services. Before you is a procurement report recommending the award of a price agreement for hydrants and valves that will be used to supply the Water Bureau's hydrant installation and replacement program that anticipates replacement of approximately 300 hydrants and 675 valves each year. In July of 2015, the city conducted a competitive bid and 2 responses were received. Mueller Company has the lowest bid at $5,220,000 for a 5-year period, contract period. And I will turn this over to Ty Kovach to talk a little bit more about the program.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Ty Kovach, Portland Water Bureau. Just wanted to share that a lot of people don't necessarily think about the Water Bureau when they think about fire hydrants. And it is a huge component of our distribution system, not only for fire suppression, but also for water quality purposes. We use it to provide potable water for people in emergencies. They're a very important part of our system. And we have hydrants all over the city that were installed in 1895. And you can look in your own neighborhood, and there's a variety of them. If you look at the barrel of a hydrant, it will say what year it was manufactured. And all over the city, we have 1895 hydrants, which on one hand is really cool because that is a great amount of longevity for something that our predecessors in the Water Bureau installed. But I also think it's really important that we have a robust and ambitious maintenance program to make sure that people can count on what we're putting in now for the next 80 to 100 years. And so in the last 3 years, we've essentially tripled the amount of hydrant maintenance that we're doing. We've installed or replaced about 300 or 350 every single year. And we've also done the same thing with valves. And there's 45,000 valves in the city, and they're like the offensive line of the distribution system because you don't think about them until one of them doesn't work, and then you got your hands full. And
Good metaphor.
Good metaphor. The Seattle Seahawks might ask for some valves.
right, they could use some valves in there to protect Russell Wilson for sure. So this is something that we've really increased over the past couple of years. It's driven the need for us to get a long-term contract established, and this contract gives us 5 years that recognizes the change in the pace that we've had in maintaining these key pieces of our infrastructure. So we respectfully request your support for moving forward with this contract.
Okay, questions?
I remember we just very recently authorized you to go out and get this, so good work to procurement services for getting it done so quickly. I just have a question about what do we do with the old ones? Do we, presumably we recycle the metal?
We actually turn them over to our scrap provider, which is a separate contract that we have, but they are scrapped, the old ones are. Some of them are salvaged, the ones that have breakaway flanges and that have modern components that can be replaced. But the ones from 1895 are well beyond their useful life, and they are sent to the scrapyard.
So do we get money for them?
I don't know that they're worth very much money. So I don't know the answer to that, but I could get it for you.
I'm really interested to know because it seems like they're pretty heavy, so you'd think there'd be a lot of metal in them. And the other question I have is, are we saving one or two so for historical purposes?
Yeah, we have, if you just drive around and evaluate hydrants in the city as you do, if you start having this on your radar screen, we have a wide variety of styles that have been installed over the years. Some of them are real straightforward and you don't notice them, and other ones are very unique. And so we try to hang on to the unique ones when we come across one that's
Commissioner
odd.
Fritz, when we opened the interstate maintenance facility, we put a couple of our historic fire hydrants out. But we have some real treasures in the stacks at that facility. So if any of my colleagues would like to come see some of the pieces of history that we do have, the Benson bubblers that we have in storage, some of the old fire hydrants and equipment, it's pretty cool. We'd be very happy to host that.
Well, Commissioner Fritz may be onto something there. I mean, I wouldn't have thought there would be any retail value to pieces of old airport carpet. So, so maybe there's a souvenir value, or at the very least, the Parks Bureau might want one or two for some of their dog parks. But there seems like there might be a reuse opportunity rather than simply a recycling opportunity out there somewhere for someone who's clever enough to figure out how to market something like airport carpet.
Well, we'd be happy to look at it.
Doggy daycares.
We spun off the loos, and now we get money for
Right.
others manufacturing the loos. If we discover there's a market for old fire hydrants, maybe there's like a website where dogs bid for nostalgic reasons. They bid for these. But we'll take a look at it. It's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, other questions, serious or not, for this team?
I was serious.
I know you were. Thank you both. Anyone else want to speak on this item? If not, then a motion, please.
Move to adopt the procurement report.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Novick,
Aye.
Fritz.
Mayor, I think you have a good point about who would have thought that airport carpet would be selling for $60 for a doormat. So I do think that there might be people who would like one of these for decorative gardens or whatever. So I'm pleased that you're going to look into it, Commissioner Fish.
idea.
Thank you. Aye.
Fish.
I want to thank Ty Kovac. As you know, we keep Ty very doing day-to-day work, and this is one of those rare occasions where the director allowed him to come to council and present. He did a great job, and Mayor and colleagues, I started my morning visiting the call center at the Portland Water Bureau. We are very proud of the customer service that the Bureau provides to a lot of people. And the recent PCI compliance journey that's impacted all of us meant that for temporarily we've had to suspend auto pay. That necessarily inconveniences a lot of people, up to 32,000 customers. And so there's been almost a 50% increase in calls to a call center that's already has a very high volume dealing with customer concerns. One measure of how good a job they're doing is how few emails we've gotten from customers who have been unhappy with whatever service they got at the Bureau level. So we went over today, Director Mike and I went over and thanked them, and we brought donuts and coffee, and they're sort of the unsung heroes of our work. They're people behind the scenes interfacing with customers. And this morning we said thank you for doing a wonderful job during a very challenging transition. And today I'm pleased to vote aye.
Councilman?
Well, on behalf of Portland Fire and Rescue, we want to thank the Water Bureau for this contract. And I don't know, in the report has a very interesting, my favorite little trivia, which is we have over 14,000 fire hydrants in our city. I find that really fascinating. But anyway, we need these, and it's good to get this contract approved. Aye.
Hills?
Good work. Aye. Okay, 1024.
Approve innovation funding of $395,690 for 4 major grant and 5 micro grant proposals for fiscal year 2015-16.
Welcoming our innovation team here. This is a great but relatively modest success story in terms of cost and size, but it's having an outsized impact, I think, on people in the bureaus coming up with great ideas. We had this interesting process, which we'll hear more about lots of competition, lots of ideas, and I'm really pleased about the package of projects that have come forward. So welcome and good morning.
Thank you, Mayor and members of council. I'm Jane Brayton. I'm the Business Operations Division Manager in the Office of Management and Finance. We're here today to ask for your approval of an ordinance authorizing funding for 4 Innovation Fund major grant projects and 5 micro grant projects, and those total just under $400,000. Now in its 3rd year, 2nd year with the Office of Management and Finance, the City Innovation Fund continues to support innovative ideas with an emphasis on equity and opportunity and promoting a culture of innovation within the city. On behalf of our proposers and the review panel, we certainly want to thank the Mayor and Council for continuing to support the Innovation Fund. Many of our proposers continue to let us know that they could not have made their ideas happen without your support. Since we last came to council at the end of July, we've also held listening sessions with our proposers and our review panel to pick up more ideas on how we can continue to make our process better. Our innovation panel gives their time and expertise to this project, and we want to thank, as many of them are with us today, if they can wave. We have community members Warren Chan and Gail Mandel, and city members Sam Hutchinson, Leslie Goodlow, and Robert Walker. And our proposers work hard to come up with these new ideas that they're sending off to the review panel and to us. And we also want to thank them today. If all of our proposers who are with us today could please wave. We want to thank them for continuing to bring these ideas forward. And just briefly on some background, our Innovation Fund major grants are for those projects that are $20,000 or more, and our micro grants are for those projects typically $10,000 or less, or up to $20,000. Those will be considered as a micro. We started our process in July with a call for ideas. We got 34 proposals from 14 city bureaus in the last call for ideas. And then once we received those proposals were shared with all city bureau directors for a period of time so they could take a look at them, provide input, and they also looked for ways that they could do cross-bureau partnerships. Then the review panel had the tough job of reviewing each proposal, and along the way they asked tough questions because they take this responsibility to bring these recommendations to you very seriously, and they used the following criteria. When they looked at the proposal, they wanted to know, does it promote equity and opportunity in city government and our community? Does it improve customer service to the community and/or within the city? Does it save time or money for the city, our partners, or community members? And does it improve city services and make things better? We invited all of our proposers into a facilitated meeting with our review panel where they could answer questions and get feedback from the panel. The panel then narrowed down the list of 34 to the 9 proposals that they're recommending to you today. And some of our proposers are actually getting feedback from one round, polishing their proposal, bringing it back, and getting review panel funding. So we have some success stories in our alumni network of proposers that we're also trying to share as well. Right now, I want to introduce Janet Storm from OMF Business Operations. She served as the primary contact for all of our proposers and our review panel, and she'll be introducing you to a couple of our innovation proposers who look forward to giving you a short overview of their projects. And then I'll be back to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Janet Storm. I'm a management analyst with OMF Business Operations, and I coordinate the grant proposal process that you just heard about. We wanted to share a little bit more about that with you today. So I'll go into just a little bit more detail than Jane just did. On July 13th, OMF Business Operations put out a call for major and micro grants. We were looking for creative ideas. All city employees were notified that we were looking for ideas which promote equity and opportunity in city government and our community, improve customer service to the community and our city customers, save time or money for the city, its partners, or our community members, and improve city services or generally make things better. Interested employees submitted their proposals, and those proposals were then sent to bureau directors to ask for input on the proposals from their own bureaus, as well as to help them identify cross-bureau partnership opportunities. We then forwarded those 34 proposals submitted by 14 bureaus to the Innovation Review Panel. The panel was asked to evaluate the proposals based on a few filters. We asked them, do you think this proposal is innovative? Does it show strategic creativity? Taking other funding sources into consideration, such as the sponsor bureau's operating budget, is the Innovation Fund the most logical funding source for this particular proposal? Is the proposal actually feasible? Do you believe that the proposed project can be achieved within the estimated budget provided? Are the key partners confirmed to be on board with this effort? And does this project advance equity? Does it save time or money? Does it provide opportunity? And is there a potential for greater benefits with broader applications citywide? On September 14th, the panel met and through a facilitated discussion with proposers agreed upon the funding recommendations for the 9 projects you have before you today. We've invited 5 proposers to come up and share a minute or two with you about their individual proposals. So first, I'd like to introduce Elizabeth Mahone from the Portland Bureau of Transportation. Elizabeth's proposal is piloting the use of renewable power in public spaces.
Good morning.
Hi, thank you. Good morning, Mayor Hales and Commissioners. As Janet mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Mahan. I'm a project manager with the Bureau of Transportation. Here to talk about PBOT's innovation grant request for piloting the use of renewable power in public spaces. So PBOT is currently working with the Portland Development Commission, the Bureau of Environmental Services, and the Gateway community on the development of a piece of underused right-of-way located at 112th and Halsey-Weidler. This area, which is commonly referred to as the East Entry Triangle, will provide much-needed green and open space to this underserved community in East Portland. And this includes the Park Rose Heights and Hazelwood neighborhoods. As the 3 bureaus worked with the community over the last 6 months to develop the concept for the triangle, we continually received requests to highlight the area's designation as an eco-district. In addition to testing different materials, such as permeable pavers for the plaza, the stakeholders asked if we could use solar technology to power all of the lighting at the site. They'd like the triangle to be a demonstration site with a kiosk that educates the community on solar power and how it could be applied in a residential setting. Initially, PBOT shied away from this concept because we have not had much success in the past using solar technology, and this is because of environmental conditions or heightened maintenance requirements. However, when we heard about the next round of innovation grants, we decided to explore just what it would take to successfully use solar technology on our facilities. We'd like to develop a solar-powered system to power all of the lighting at the site as well as the rapid flash beacons that will safely get pedestrians to this new plaza. And then determine the level of maintenance and the true life cycle costs, that are required in order to make this project a success. And then based on the results of this project, we'll be able to determine how and when it could be applied on future construction projects and future PBOT facilities. We know that using this technology can help reduce our carbon emissions and contribute to the city meeting its climate action goals. We're also eager to determine if applying this technology will save the city money in the long run. Over the next year, once the site is constructed, we'll be studying the amount of power that's actually generated from the solar technology, as well as determine the level of ongoing maintenance and operation costs that are required, and then look forward to reporting back to the City Council on our findings. And I'm, on behalf of the community and PBOT, like to thank you all for this opportunity, and then I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions for Elizabeth? Good presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. Oh, no, you did.
Next, we have Matthew Shabold, I hope I said his name correctly, from the Portland Housing Bureau, who will speak about improving access to affordable housing.
Good morning.
Mayor Hales, Commissioners, my name is Matthew Shabold with the Housing Bureau. And so the proposal that the Housing Bureau submitted is improving access to affordable housing. And so to kind of set the context for that, one issue we've known for a while that we needed to work on, and there was an area for improvement, is the ability for rental households to find out exactly what rental units were supported by the City of Portland through direct financing or one of our regulatory programs, as well as the application process to actually get into those units. So as it currently stands, the city takes a fairly passive role in the actual application and rental of the unit. There are a number of partner property management companies that advertise vacancies in the units and that facilitate the application process. For a renter household, that can create difficulties because the regulated units are managed by a host of partner organizations. And so these households have to go to many different websites or organizations to find out not only about the regulated units, their cost and their availability, but to actually submit an application, pay an application fee, and this happens multiple times. And so with the expansion, so looking forward as the city and you all as the city council have moved forward on increasing the tax exemption for rental units through the city's multi-program, and as the city increasingly looks at getting affordable housing units through density bonuses in the central city, as well as the mixed-use zoning outside the central city, we anticipate an increase in the number of property management firms joining the regulated affordable housing industry. That's a good thing. We need a greater supply of affordable housing, but that can have a potentially negative impact on the renter households trying to access housing. As you increase the number of companies managing units, you increase the number of companies that individuals need to call or visit websites or visit offices to get information. And so this proposal is to develop a web application that will not only identify all of the city's regulated affordable housing units, but actually facilitate the application to those units by listing when the units are vacant, regardless of what property owner and property management firm is administering those units, and then provide a process on the back end to facilitate a notification of vacancy and an application process. The analogy that I've been using that I think has helped folks understand is governmentjobs.com, that government jobs acts as a conduit between individuals applying for a job in government service and any number of government agencies, the city, the county, the state, and other governments around the region. To the applicant, all they see is one applicant profile they have to create online. They see a comprehensive list of openings, and then the web application facilitates their application to the job to the city governments or the governments in general. They can post their jobs on this site, and then they get applications from multiple sources. So that's the premise behind this proposal. The Housing Bureau would like to thank you for the opportunity to move forward on this if possible, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Sounds good. President, any questions? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Now I'd like to ask Morgan Masterman of the Portland Development Commission to come up, and Morgan will discuss bridging the digital divide for disadvantaged businesses.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners, Mayor Hales. My name is Morgan Masterman, and I manage the Portland Development Commission's Micro Enterprise and Small Business Development Program. And today I'm joined by my colleague Enoch Agery, who played a pivotal role in developing our proposal for bridging the digital divide for disadvantaged businesses. It's a mouthful. The Micro Enterprise and Small Business Development Program is a city-funded program that provides approximately 500 local small businesses with technical assistance annually. Typical services include business planning, financial analysis, marketing, and access to capital. We support an extremely diverse group of businesses. Last year, approximately 75% of businesses were owned by people of color. 70% of business owners are living at or below 50% of the median family income. 60% are female-owned businesses, and 40% of business owners have limited English proficiency. And we've intentionally structured our program to provide targeted outreach to the Neighborhood Prosperity Initiative and Main Street areas. Last year, 40% of those of the businesses participating in our program lived or worked in those priority areas, and an additional 350 businesses and entrepreneurs were served through our NPI and Main Street office hours service model. One issue that these businesses often face is web access. And if you're familiar at all with, I'm assuming you're familiar with the work of the Office of Community Technology and their work on digital equity. And they define digital equity as having access to the internet as well as hardware and education around knowledge of how to use the technology. We've recently learned that about 65% of the businesses in our program lack a website, and more than half of them have no web presence at all, which would include things like a Facebook page or a Yelp site. In this digital age, lacking a web presence makes it difficult for a business to scale and plan for long-term survival. Research and feedback from our partners in the community have identified several barriers that prevent disadvantaged business owners from establishing a web presence, again, including limited knowledge of the technology, language barriers, limited time and resources, as well as limited access to the internet. With this funding, we plan to develop a web clinic to support 75 to 100 disadvantaged businesses. And through this model, businesses would receive one-on-one advising, a customized plan outlining how they can enhance their web presence, brand development such as logo design, support to implement their plan, and training on how to maintain their web presence in the future. And we would hope to have this clinic become available in January of next year. I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and for your ongoing support for local small businesses, and thanks for the continued funding for the Innovation Fund.
Thank you very much. Yeah, another piece of the deliberate effort we're making at inclusion, so thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we'll hear from Susan Barr from the Office of Neighborhood Involvement, and Susan's proposal is accessible one-call phone translation.
Susan, Senate replacement.
Ah,
I'm Susan.
Good morning.
Actually, I'm John Dudd. I'm Susan's supervisor for Information Referral Program. She couldn't be here, so I'm pinch hitting for her today. So her proposal, when we talk about micro grants, I think this was the most micro of the micros. So a couple $1,000s for accessible one-call phone translation. So currently, we at City County Information and Referral act as sort of the main operator for both the city and county government. We get calls for lots of other things as well. So being a general access point for folks trying to do business with the local government, we do get calls from folks that do not speak English as their primary language. So currently we're able to access phone translation services to help us with that. But what happens a lot of times is we are engaging with them to figure out what they're trying to accomplish and helping them, figure out who they need to contact and then connecting them on elsewhere. And the current model with our translation agreement, once we finish figuring all that out with them, we then transfer them where they need to go or give them the information they need. Then they have to kind of start all over once they get to that other office, whether it's a city office, a county office, or a nonprofit like Home Forward, somebody like that. So then they have to start all over with a new translator. So the idea here that she had was to reach an agreement with our translation service to be able to keep that interpreter on the call for the length of the call, no matter where we send them, whether it's to another city bureau or a county office or even an outside service of some sort that they need to connect with. So this creates a fund, and we have an agreement with Language Line Services that they're okay with that, and then when we have those calls, this fund would help to support that service.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
And our final presenter is Lieutenant Terry Kruger with the Portland Police Bureau, who will speak about the Youth and the Law publication.
And it's brought reinforcements with him, so. Good morning. Just pull up another chair if you'd like. Just slide up another loose chair.
Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
Commissioners, thank you very much for your time. I've brought with me today one of the educators and a couple of the students from Roosevelt High School. But what this grant fund proposal is about is it's a youth and law pamphlet that was a student-led project at Roosevelt High School, where the students went and interviewed police officers, parole and probation, public defenders, mental health professionals, and they can tell you more about it. And then they compiled a booklet, excuse me, with their answers to the questions from their interviews. Portland Police Bureau was heavily involved in this process, and we recognize the benefit of this. At this time, across our nation, there is a wound. This booklet is titled Youth and the Law, but it could be Trust and Understanding, or Trust and Education. And you know, there's a gap in our country. There's an injury that we need to heal, and this booklet starts the conversation and the relationships. We saw the value in it and the need for this conversation to expand beyond what their original proposal was, which was to get it out to their incoming freshmen to begin to educate them. And this proposal is to expand their footprint, to start the conversation. It's already begun to grow and have its own roots and legs, and I'd like them to share with you. So this is Kate McPherson. She's a supporting educator at Roosevelt High School. Here you have Sky. She's a junior, heavily involved in the project, and Carson is a senior involved as well. And at this point, I'd just like to step back and let them share with you a little bit.
Great, thank you. Good morning.
I want to, Kate McPherson, and I have the pleasure of providing leadership for Roosevelt's Writing and Publishing Center. I want to kick off with first just a real genuine thank you to Terry Kruger for his involvement throughout the summer, and we know without his leadership and support, we would not be before you. So we really appreciate this being an alliance and a partnership that's gone deep. My job today is, as I work with the Writing and Publishing Center, is I work with teachers and students to help ensure that student writing has greater voice and value in the community. And so what I'm really thrilled to introduce both Sky and Carson, who are the ones who will really speak about the project. I'm here to sort of intro, take photos, and answer questions at the end. Sky was a part of the class that started the program last spring. She can describe that and answer questions related to that. And then Carson worked with me during the summer through our summer internship, taking that work deeper and making sure that our book moved beyond the school to have greater impact and have a deeper quality to it. And also, he was the one who originally thought of the idea of every freshman and proposed that to the police department. So I want them to launch the conversation, and then I'll be here at the end to answer any questions that you might have.
Welcome. Good morning, Sky.
Good morning, Mayor Hales and Commissioners. My name is Sky Skalbeck, and I'm a junior at Roosevelt. This project started in September of 2014 when one of our students was tased by police. And a lot of our community, they were very angry and they didn't know what to do with it. And it showed a lack of trust and knowledge between both youth and police. So in my mock trial class, we had the opportunity to ask questions about anything related to the law, anything we didn't understand. And we got those questions back to research them. And part of our research was interviewing people from the community, and that include police, people from Multnomah County and beyond. And that allowed us to build relationships with our community and humanize this conflict. We often see people, stereotyping one side or the other, and it kind of breaks us apart. So we were allowed to come together and be together.
Good morning, commissioners, and Mayor Hales. Again, thank you for your time today. And piggybacking off what Sky said about relationships between police and the community, this book specifically deals with that situation, with that gap. A lot of these people that we've seen across the nation who have had incidences with the police, and some have been killed, some not, but most of these people are adults over the age of 18, and it speaks on how they have been educated as young adults, as teenagers, on how to, what's the word I'm looking for? On how to de-escalate situations, on how to deal with police officers, and this book directly correlates with that gap in education. It talks about your rights as a community member, as a teenager, as an adult. It speaks on how police officers go into situations after they get in a call. What are they looking to do? How are they looking to handle the situation? And just, it's a big help for any person 13 or 35 who may have less knowledge about the law. Any person can pick this up and learn something. And it's just a big help for the community, build relationships, because like she said, there's a gap in communication. There's a gap in that. And without this project, I never would have met Terry Kruger, who is obviously a great human being and who has helped us a lot in this process.
That's great. Thank you very much. Questions? I just want to say, man, it seems like there are two indispensable pieces of this. One is having somebody in the Bureau, in the form of Lieutenant Kruger, who believed in this need and the need to meet it, but it wouldn't have happened if we didn't have student leaders, because if it was the police bureau trying to do this, how credible that would have not been compared to having you do it with the police bureau's support. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course. Would you like to come up and take a picture with the council? Come on.
Do you mind? You guys interrupted before.
We'd love to interrupt. Actually, why don't you come up here and take a couple of these seats, because you're going to be on later. So.
I'll give you copies of the draft. Many editing's on it, so.
Well, you guys are fighting. Also, he's going to so much. You be mayors for the day. Yeah, that's a good idea. She should be here too. Please, an actual camera. I know, I haven't seen an actual camera in a long time.
It's true.
Existed anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Good work.
I just wanted to, in a passing note, Sky was at a conference for teachers throughout Oregon. Oregon Education Association invited them to present, and so there are teachers throughout the state who are quite interested in all this.
Oh, that's great. Good work.
This is wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we've had our series of presentations about these projects, a great view of what this effort has resulted in so far, so thank you. Anyone else that signed up to speak on this item, aside from the
We do not have a
presenters that we've
sign-up
had?
sheet.
Okay, anyone want to speak on this item? Come on up, Charles.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Charles Johnson, and it's just been awesome to see these presentations, to have students come from the fire-scarred Roosevelt High School and talk about the good things that are going on there and positive partnerships with the police. As you know, usually I'm up here about the more negative concerns about inadequacies or problems in policing. So I've met Mr. Kruger at the City Club and gotten straight on which Krugers are which Krugers in our police department. And on this particular agenda, I think that there's a broad concern in Portland about how wealthy and corporate units are taxed. So I would like to encourage you to do some behind-the-scenes things and talks with the city's attorney to find out since we're not doing a lot of corporate taxation, what are the legal guidelines so that local leaders like Columbia Sportswear, Intel, Nike can partner in funding these great projects so that it doesn't all come at taxpayer expense? I think taxpayers are great to pay this, but I think it's an awesome opportunity for the Pauline Island Family Foundation, for Mr. Knight, and for the corporate CEOs at those companies to engage with the community and encourage youth leadership and innovation among young professionals working for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Good suggestion. Okay, any questions for council? Then let's please take a vote on the emergency ordinance.
Novik?
I'm continually impressed by the innovation, the enthusiasm shown by both people in the bureaus and the community members they work with. And Mayor Hales, I think that these innovation grants are among the most innovative things you've championed in your term as mayor. Aye.
Fritz?
Well, I particularly appreciated the presentations by Jane Brayton and Janet Storm today, outlining the diligence of our city employees in going through these grants and making sure that they're asking all of the questions that taxpayers would want to have asked. And I appreciate the examples that we've been given today, particularly this last one, that this is the pamphlet that the students have put together, which is now going to be paid for to be given to all high school students in Portland, and I think that's a very good thing. Aye.
Saltzman?
Well, thank you, Office of Management and Finance, for managing this process, and we got some great proposals here. I'm really intrigued by all of them, and they all sound great. And congratulations to the Housing Bureau for being the big winner there, $150,000. Great work. Aye.
Hales?
Well, we started today with welcoming a delegation from Japan who is here visiting, and we get a lot of those delegations, and they often come here to study sustainability. But I think all of us are looking forward to the day when they come here to study sustainability, but also how we're a model internationally for equity and for inclusion and for innovation. So today is about those goals that we share here as a council and as a community. So Jane, Janet, thank you for great management of this innovative program. And I just am really impressed with the people in the bureaus that have come up with these ideas, have developed them, polished them with constructive criticism from their peers, and then also engage community leaders in making these things happen. So I'm really proud of this effort and proud of what's been brought forward. Look forward to more. Thank you very much. Aye. Good work. Okay, we have a few more regular items this morning to address. Item 1025.
Amend ordinance to modify the conditions of approval for the vacation of a portion of Southwest Moody Avenue north of Ross Island Bridge, subject to certain conditions and reservations.
Mr. Novick?
Colleagues, we have Lance Lindahl from PBOT here to explain the reasons why we need to modify the ordinance. One reason I need to stress is that apparently in the original vacation, we misnamed some manholes. So part of what we're doing here is correcting the name of misnamed manholes. And Commissioner Fish told me that this was a great concern to him, that as long as he's in charge of the manholes, they need to be treated with respect. And that means they need to be called by their proper names. But there's other things you need to do too. Lance.
Thank you. Again, my name is Lance Lindahl, Right-of-Way Acquisition, Bureau of Transportation. Before you today is a proposal to amend Ordinance 187032, which was approved by Council back on February 25th of this year. That ordinance vacated a portion of Southwest Moody Avenue north of the Ross Island Bridge, subject to certain conditions and reservations. The vacation area has not been used for surface transportation purposes since Southwest Moody was relocated and reconstructed several years ago. The amendment language before you today provides needed clarification on the public sewer facilities that are being transferred to private ownership at the request of the Bureau of Environmental Services. It also reduces the size of the required BES sewer easement area in order to better match the needs of both the city and the abutting property owners. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about this one.
Sounds like none. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else want to speak on this item? If not, then let's take a vote, please.
Novick?
Thank you, Lance. Aye.
Fritz?
Just laughing over the naming of the manholes. Was that actually serious? I
Actually had that conversation with Commissioner Fish, but yes, that was one of the things you're doing.
Well, I will find out from you later what their misnaming was and what we're now going to be naming them. I hope there's a solid naming policy within the Bureau. Aye.
Saltzman?
Well, I hope you can come up with a gender-neutral name, too.
I'll get the consultants on the line right now.
Okay,
Let's
aye.
hope it doesn't take that.
Hales?
Aye, thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, we got auctioning manholes and auctioning fire hydrants and naming manholes. This morning. Who knows what else our bureaus are going to come up with? Okay,
Future
1026.
proposals, innovation proposals.
Authorized contract with Sergeants Towing, Inc. for abandoned vehicle towing and storage services.
We had this before us before. There's some changes here.
No, I mean, we did have it, actually, I wasn't here last week, but I was told that Commissioner Fritz was asking the PBOT make a commitment that we review and assess our abandoned auto program with particular attention to the criteria for identifying an abandoned vehicle and the notification period given to owners of the abandoned vehicle. We are going to undertake that review and make a presentation to council within the next 90 days. So I wanted to state that for the record, and then PBOT staff are here to answer any questions.
And with that, I'm satisfied that the ordinance for the towing can proceed as written.
Okay, good. Any other questions for our team that developed this proposal and got this bid? All right, then let's take a vote, please.
Novick?
Thank you very much. Aye.
Fritz?
Thank you for that commitment and the council last week for taking a little bit more time to allow me to work through the issues with both the Bureau and Commissioner Novick's staff. Aye.
Saltzman?
Aye.
Hales?
Yeah, I'm glad we're going to do that. As I indicated at the hearing, I think we have to be very thoughtful about how this tool is used because it is pretty invasive of people's lives and wallets when we do use it. And then the story Commissioner Fish told about the storage pod being towed away from somebody's in front of somebody's house while their house is being remodeled is just simply horrific, and I hope we can somehow make amends to that person for the damages that were done. Again, we ought to be very careful about using this tool. It's an important tool for managing the public right-of-way, which is a right-of-way, not a right of absolute occupancy. So I get that we have to do this, but how we do it really matters. So I look forward to that discussion. Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, 1027.
Conduct a pilot project to amend administrative procedures in order to increase time for public review of city council public meeting agendas.
Commissioner Fritz.
Thank you, Mayor. I am super excited to be bringing this resolution in partnership with the city auditor and the council clerk staff. We are proposing to change the deadline for when council offices must submit the items for the following week's agenda to the council clerk. And I won't go into all of the details of how that works because we'll be visiting with the bureau directors at their next meeting. I have had some email communication to make sure that that's clear. But the net result for citizens and for city council offices and everybody else is that the council agenda will be published on Thursday afternoons instead of Friday afternoons, which will give a whole extra business day, but also the weekend for citizens and staff to be able to look into the items on the council agenda. So I'm very, very excited about this, very grateful to the council clerk and to the auditor's office for working with my staff and also Rachel Wiggins, Mayor Hales and your staff for putting a lot of effort into this. Celia Herron in the Office of Management and Finance and Tony Anderson have also been hugely helpful. And there are other internal processes for improving how we get things on the agenda, how we manage the agenda, that I am very hopeful will be results in better public process, more transparency, and increased opportunity for us all to know what's going on in advance and ask our questions in advance. Did Sarah Landis, does anybody from the auditor's office want to say anything?
Okay.
Sarah Landis, the Deputy City Auditor, has been extremely helpful also. And like I said, I've been hoping to do this for almost 7 years. And it's very exciting. And I appreciate each of my colleagues for expressing a willingness to at least try it for 6 months. This will go into effect. The first filing deadline to be on a Monday will be October 26th. So starting in November, the council agenda will be published on Thursdays. The other piece of this is that things that are heard on Thursday afternoons cannot have a second reading the following week. So if each of us are thinking of scheduling things on a Thursday afternoon, we should know that either it's something that's going to get voted on that day, or it's something that would have to wait for almost 2 weeks to come back to council.
Good. Thank you. Questions for staff? Anyone want to speak on this item? Come on up.
Could you just explain that last point?
So if
It's
a
not, I'm
Thursday-
not absorbing it, so.
So because the council clerk will be in the council chambers on Thursday afternoons and will not have, we won't necessarily have finished whatever we're talking about on Thursday afternoon. We won't know whether it's going to need a second reading or a second hearing until after the council agenda is published. So anything that's heard on Thursday afternoon either has to be voted, something that's voted on right then, or something that can go over for 2 weeks rather than for 1 week.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, my name is Lightning. I represent Lightning Watchdog PDX. I myself do not approve of the amendment. I do not want any changes made on any public communication. I have a few issues. I feel we have ample time to review. I don't think there needs to be any changes. One of the concerns I do have on public communication is that for the public, when they communicate, we should not have certain items that have been already pre-approved by either committees or the council without hearing the public statements. And why I say that, if I might explain, is that we have had items on these agendas that I have come up and communicated on, stated my facts against it, and within an hour, I go out and I read a publication that it's already been approved. There's no way that you can do that from the media, from you approving it to the media to have it outside, that it's already been approved. These discussions that we have, the public has a right to come out and communicate. That's why public communication is necessary, to allow the public to make their statements and not have it already negotiated with the media to where they have it in their publications. When I walk out of this room, it's already been approved. I don't like that. The whole point of public communication is to have the public to be able to come in here and say, hey, this is what I believe. I don't want you to approve it. I'm speaking against it. I hope you're listening to me, because it is public communication and I am the public. And why is it already pre-approved to where the media has it in their print that you've already agreed to it? So I want to have an auditor take a look at that and understand that the media should not have access on the final approval before public communication, and public has a right to state their opinion. Because my understanding, the public has a right to be here by state law, if I am correct, by state law, to communicate to the council chambers on what I believe on these type of communications. And I would like that to be looked into further. But can you actually deny me to come in and communicate as the public on these issues? And that's what I want to have an understanding, because if you say that public communication is not necessary, then let's not have it. Because I feel it's not necessary if we don't have the right to state our opinions and already have the media have it in their publication. It's been pre-approved earlier, and what I have to say has no bearing. And why I say that, I can look at certain issues in here that I will speak on and I will disagree with, and within an hour I can go out and look in the publication and they'll already say it was approved. Now, how can the media get access that fast and have it in their publication?
Well, I think we might be talking past each other a little bit here, Lightning. I mean, the purpose of this innovation, if I can use that word again, is to give people more time to
Right.
know what's on our calendar.
The
And
public,
does-
the public.
Public,
Yes.
yes, and also council colleagues.
And council,
So that we
okay.
have no one's trying to surprise our colleagues, but
Right.
the time window is short enough
Sure.
that an ordinance can get filed and everybody else sees it only days before it's brought to the public hearing. So I like this idea. I think it's worth a try, and that's why it is an innovation and why we are going to do it as a pilot project first. But the idea of giving everyone more time to see what's on our docket doesn't change the necessity to make sure the process has integrity and we don't decide things, before that. I get your point about that.
My point is you're asking for an additional day to do research, if I am correct. 1 day is what you're asking for.
That's the effect of this.
That's the effect of this. That is correct. My position is if the public, when they communicate, has no bearing to your vote, if it's already been pre-approved and the media has already been notified.
Yeah, that's a different, I don't think we have that problem, but that's a different problem.
Oh, no, there is that.
I'd be interested to know the specific example. Sometimes what happens is that we send out a draft press release that's embargoed until after the vote. So if it turns out that something comes up, and there's been numerous occasions when you've been here where public testimony has changed the outcome. So if I'd be very interested maybe after the hearing to hear from you what was the specific time that you went out and it was in print.
The only time it has changed is when we push it over for another week. But I'm saying there are instances that have been pre-approved where public has come up here and communicated, and I will walk out an hour later and it's in media that it was already approved.
I'd be very interested to know what specific instances, because
I can
my
bring
vote
up-
is not pre-approved.
I can bring up numerous instances, and I will do that,
Yeah, why don't you follow
because
up
I
with us
follow
on that?
that immediately when I walk from the council chambers right to the media, what's been printed. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. The first thing I'd like to note is, first thing I'll note is the absence of Joe Walsh, but he's watching from home. And I'm sure he would also be glad that this item number 1027 is not starred as an emergency. Yay. I think this is a generally good innovation that does give the public another day at home to prepare and research and to communicate, to talk about testifying, so we can try and influence you to vote in the way that we think is in the best interest of the city. I do think that when we talk about public engagement and awareness, it's important to go and look back at page 1 and note that today only 4 of the 5 slots for public communication got used. In the past few weeks, y'all have talked some great partnership work with Deborah Kafoury, Chair of the County Commission, and the County Commission. And I hope that you will also, as you review this innovation that Ms. Fritz has brought forward, that you'll also look to making your public comment procedure at the beginning more open, maybe with a standby list, the way that it's done at the County Commission, so that you can have better engagement with your constituents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, this is a resolution, not an ordinance, so we do vote on it today. So let's take a roll call.
Novick?
Commissioner, my staff and I very much appreciate this change. Our practice is when the agenda comes out on Friday afternoon to review it, to see if there's something we didn't know enough about and see if we have any questions. And the problem is that it being Friday afternoon, often the people with answers to the questions aren't available. So we spend the weekend sometimes kind of freaking out, wondering if we'll get the answers to those questions. So having that extra day to be able to call the relevant people on Friday and clarify issues is going to be extremely helpful to your colleagues as well as to the public. So thank you. Aye.
Thank you for your support, and thank you very much to the auditor and your staff for working with us on this. I know it's a big challenge. It's a change to the way we've been doing things, and I hope that it does work out, and certainly let me know. Ongoing, our plan is to return with a report to council after 6 months to say and gather input from you and the public as to whether it has been helpful. And so I'm very excited about that. The hope also is that the City Budget's Office financial impact statement can also come out a day early. So instead of Tuesday, we would get that on Monday, which I will find very helpful. We'll also have the opportunity to talk with each other one-on-one on Mondays with any proposed amendments, rather than, as you say, Commissioner, I often can only have found out the information I need to know whether I want to propose an amendment to put on the table by Tuesday. So we didn't write that into the resolution, but the hope is that if we can continue to work as hard on Fridays and Mondays as we currently do on Mondays and Tuesdays, that we might be able to get more input from citizens earlier and therefore be ready with any amendments that either council offices or citizens propose so that we can just improve the process. And so I very much appreciate everybody's willingness to give it a try. Aye. Oh, by the way, I do also need to thank Jasmine Wadsworth on my staff, who is coordinator of my council agenda binder, and my two chiefs of staff, Tom Bizot and Tim Croyle, who are extremely diligent. We believe that this is the most, city council hearings are the most important things that I do as an elected official, as Lightning said, to listen to the public, to make sure that we are taking appropriate public input. And so our office, and I know each of yours, puts a lot of effort into finding out about the items, and so I greatly appreciate my staff. Aye.
Councilman?
Well, this sounds like a great experiment. Glad to indulge your 7-year quest, Commissioner Fritz. And see if this will improve how we do our business. Aye.
Hills?
I'm going to steal Commissioner Novik's role and quote a song lyric from Sheryl Crow, which is that change would do us good. Thank you, Commissioner Fritz. Aye. And we're recessed till 2 p.m. because item 28